Well, it's also very strange to us. I never imagined 3 years ago that we could go back to these troublesome periods where there were political prisoners, political exiles. The police were sent to disrupt a vote. This sounds brutal, this sounds unfair, and this sounds very old-fashioned as well to us. It belongs to another period. It doesn't belong to the 21st century. So, yes, I agree. There's Spanish democracy and human rights in Spain are really at stake now. And the downslide to a less democratic situation is very risky. We are facing that risk. So we are telling the world what's happening here, and we are asking for help because we think this concerns the whole of Europe and the world. And we think that it's important more than the question of Catalan independence, because of course there's so many people who want a Catalan republic here, but that's really something we have to deal with, and we have to decide it here. We don't expect anybody in Greece or elsewhere to work for this idea and to achieve independence for us. We don't want to impose it. We are asking for democratic procedures with respect, full respect for freedom of speech, for rights of political representation, things like that which have been vulnerated. And what we ask from people all over the world is to help us with democracy and to help us with human rights. That's what we're asking for, because we think that anywhere in the world where that's vulnerated is also something which belongs to us. It's universal. My predecessor here in this department, who held my post before, he's there. You have a picture of him on the wall right here, and he's in jail. He's been in jail for 2 years, and he's been sentenced to 12.5 years in jail. So, yes, there's this feeling that anything unexpected could happen. And we have seen how, for instance, what we do in other countries overseas, and I'm talking to you about my personal experience here in this department. We're also seeing how people are being followed. But to the extent that documents proving this were presented by the same Spanish government to the courts to justify acting legally against us. And this happened some months ago. And we saw the papers of people in embassies following us and following foreign nationals. So these things are happening, and we hope that they're brought to an end immediately. Because, again, this is part of a huge mistake. We're not haters. We don't hate Spain or Spanish people. We have so many relations and connections. And we speak Spanish, and we want to continue speaking it. And but Spanish power, the powers of the state in Spain, are obviously acting against political ideas and against political democratic actions. You saw the images of that vote 2 years ago for a referendum. 15,000 police troops were sent from other places to come here and beat up people to prevent the vote. Now, those were horrible images. We don't want them. I don't want any government in the world to promote and to act for those images, for that footage. So what we want is for us, and also for Spain, to live in a free, democratic environment. And because now it's us, it's pro-independence Catalans, but tomorrow it might be somebody else. It might be like Republicans elsewhere who are asking to change the monarchy for a republic, which is a very legitimate goal in Spain. And we don't want that to happen anywhere in the world. We took our lessons. We know that violence does not help anybody. It doesn't help. It won't help us because it will make our cause less legitimate, and it will weaken our cause. Because Catalan society is peaceful and civic, and all these mass demonstrations, everything we have done until now has been tremendously civic, disciplined, and peaceful. And we want it to continue like that, and we'll make our best efforts so that it continues like that. Why? Because we think that means are important, and we want democratic means. We don't want to bully anybody. We don't want to put anybody in a corner. We want people to vote. Now that's something which seems so simple and straightforward and so full of common sense that we think everybody can understand, and everybody can stick to that. So there's people who perhaps in Catalonia who don't want a Catalan Republic. Okay, let them vote. There's people who want it. Let them vote. Let 100% of the population vote. And that's something which appeals to everybody. Empowering people is one of the principles of participation. In a modern world, that's something which you have to promote. And if somebody, even if his political ideas and his goal, his dreams are different from yours, if you tell him, we want you to take part in the decision, he'll feel empowered. And that's wonderful because it makes you feel a full citizen. Now, imagine when they say, no, you can't vote. We can't talk about this. We refuse to talk. There's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to vote about. Then obviously, those who favor the independence will feel as half citizens, but also those who don't want it. So right now we have a situation in Catalonia where, according to polls, 80% of the people here want to vote about the future, about the political collective future. And then there's something like 10% who don't want to vote, and the rest don't know. But so there's an overwhelming majority of people that want to decide about their future, that want to feel as full citizens, that want to be empowered. And perhaps one of the biggest mistakes that Spanish power has made is saying, no, you're not full citizens, you can't decide about this. But we are adults, we're responsible people, we're peaceful, we have our ideas, we want to be free. And we think that is very, very well understood by everybody. Well, the Belgian judge is saying we have a different idea of justice. And that's what the German judges are saying. That's what judges in the United Kingdom, in Switzerland, and many other parts are saying. So when you talk about the law and about illegal acts being committed by the Catalan government or whoever, you must take this into account. Which law are you talking about? And which interpretation of the law? The one given by the Spanish Supreme Court, who's condemning 9 people who were in the former Catalan government and who organized the referendum. They're condemning them to 100 years in jail overall. Now these are people who have small kids. 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 12-year-olds. They won't see their kids in freedom again until they're grown-ups. And that produces so much suffering. And there's hundreds of people who could be prosecuted and who have been indicted. So it's really something quite massive, which appeals to so many people. Mayors of small towns who put the ballot boxes there for people to vote. And they might be prosecuted any minute. Some of them are being prosecuted right now. So this really turns this conflict into a very nasty thing, which looks like something of the Middle Ages. For instance, a movement like Syriza. I speak to Alexis Tsipras, Varoufakis. And they say, no, sovereignty is important for the left. And people's empowerment is all important to the left. And full citizenship rights are all important for the left. It's not about exclusion. We don't want to exclude anybody. We want to build a new republic. And a new republic which appeals to everybody. Because we believe that we can have a direct relationship with Brussels, for instance. We believe that we can apply stronger social policies. And we believe we can work better for the welfare of our people. We believe it's a very strong tool to go towards a better society. The Catalan Parliament has passed laws on the equality of women and men. They've been turned down by Spanish courts. We've approved laws about poverty and energy poverty or scarcity. They've been turned down by the Spanish courts. Now, we have a progressive society which believes in empowerment, which believes in redressing social injustice overall. We want to respond to that society with really strong tools. And again, I think that's something we must solve. If those tools, if the majority of people believe that those tools are really necessary and we have to work towards them. But that's something we have to decide. But there's other things in which the world must help. And the European Union, well, you can see what judges are doing. You can see what the Court of Justice of the European Union is saying. It's saying that people elected must go to Parliament. Like in this case of 3 leaders, Catalan leaders, which were not allowed by Spanish authorities to take up their seats in the European Parliament. And now the Advocate General of the European Court of Justice stated that this was wrong, that it's the voters. Now we're talking about Europe, and this is deeply European, and it concerns all Europeans, because your representatives in Europe are my representatives. As European citizens, 3 of them are not allowed. One of them because he's in jail, and they didn't even give him his permit to go and pick up his credentials. And the others because they are in exile, and if they return, they know very well what will happen. Should the European Parliament be sovereign? If it's sovereign, it's not up to the authorities of the member states to say, I like this MEP, I don't like this MEP, I like the other one. It's up to the people to decide. We're full European citizens as well. So what would you think if in any other country, imagine some people in Athens or Corinth or wherever, Napoli, imagine they elect representatives to the European Parliament, and then the Greek authorities say no. We let him run. He ran for the election. He got millions of votes. He is entitled to a seat, but no, for bureaucratic reasons, we say he cannot go there because he cannot pick up his credentials. Because he's in jail, we don't let him go and pick up his credentials. That's absolutely against the rights of people in a democracy. And it's against the principles of Europe. Europe was based, after 2 terrible catastrophes, the 2 world wars, it was based on democracy. It was based on peace, on dialogue, on human rights. We can't vulnerate that. And if somebody, any member state, vulnerates that and thinks that its authorities are more important than what the people vote, then it's all Europeans who should react, because it concerns all of us. Talk about this in the Greek Parliament. Talk about this in the European Parliament. Talk about this anywhere. We've seen manifestos all over Europe. This is in the European Parliament. It's in the Bundestag. It's in Westminster, in the UK. It's in the French Senate, in the Assembly. It's in Italy. It's in Portugal. It should also be in Greece. Why not? I mean, yeah. And also, like, there's been these committees of support to the political prisoners, the Catalan political prisoners. And very recently, one was created in Slovenia. Shortly after, another one in Croatia. And in other places, there's committees like that which have led by ex-presidents, for instance, very prominent figures, very admired and respected figures. That could also happen in Greece.